This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone want to use the repeater before we begin Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this station of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority traffic, priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz and field tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A and 1273 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So we're going to start now with short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, and where you are transmitting from this evening.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell, short time.
Kilo Charlie 5, Mike, Pop Oscar, Jamie, Mobile, downtown Dallas.
Kilo Juliet 5, Foxtrot Lima Tango, Rick Mansfield, Mobile.
Okay, we have Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John. Kilo Charlie 5, Mike Papa Oscar, Jamie. And Kilo Juliet 5, Foxtrot Lima Tango, Rick. So now we'll go on with regular check-ins, general check-ins. Please come down.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. Milky Way, more precisely, Mesquite.
This is Alpha Golf 5 Papa Mike Rich in Rockwall, AG 5 PM.
Alpha Golf 9er Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9SG.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima on mobile at my QTH in Carrollton. It's James.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Dallas, Texas.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northeast Dallas. November 5 Oscar Foxtrot, Hawaii, Pacific.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power.
Kilo 5, Uniform, Romeo, Jacob, Dallas.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas.
KJ5, EYK, Alex and Ellen.
Okay, that's a goodly amount. I might need one or two fills. So we have Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rick. Alpha Golf 9, Sierra Golf, Antonio. Alpha 5, Alpha Mike, Robert. Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill. Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David. W5 Golf Uniform Sierra, Gus. November 5 Oscar Foxtrot, Clay. Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot India, Ted. And next one, Jacob, I totally missed your call. Would you please repeat it for me?
Sure thing, absolutely. The call is Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, KG5, UFR.
Okay, I got the UFR part. What's the prefix?
The call is Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, KG5, UFR.
Okay, finally got KG5 UFR. Thank you, Jacob. Then we have Kilo 5 Mike Charlie Delta Cody and Kilo Juliet 5 Echo Juliet. Oh, I think Alex. I'm not sure. Would you repeat your call for me, please?
Sure. Kilo, Juliet, 5, Echo, Yankee, Kilo.
Glad you repeated it. I had missed one. Kilo Juliet 5 Echo Yankee Kilo Alex. Welcome to the net. Okay, do we have anybody now on Echolink?
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in point.
Five Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Springtown.
Okay, we have K5 KTX, Kelly, and Whiskey 5 Echo Bravo Bravo, David. Now, do we have anybody else for general check-ins?
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving. Clark and Hurst.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, and Fort Worth.
Hey, November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill. Clark, I missed your call. Would you please repeat it?
Kilo Juliet 5, Golf Charlie Papa.
Hey, Kilo Juliet 5, Golf Charlie Papa. Thank you to Clark. Then November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia. Okay, any other check-ins? Okay, then let's press on. General announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? They can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Brenda. Thursday, Tom, N5HYP, and myself visited the Cowtown Amateur Radio Club Ham Shack over in downtown Fort Worth. It's just a short distance to the west of the big buildings in downtown Fort Worth. And the reason was they were publicizing the fact that they have a new satellite communication setup all running. So they have an azimuth L rotator and software and feed-ins and radio and software controlling the radio for satellite passes and all that stuff. So they actually have a physical ham shack there. It's in the member evidently owns the business that's there, and so they're getting in for cheap or nothing or something. But their actual ham shack has a meeting room, and right adjacent to it is the shack itself, so it's very convenient. They have 4 very big wide-screen monitors that were donated to them. They've got software running on and things. And they also have an HF setup with a beam, and the HF setup has remote operation enabled for club members. That's for the Cowtown Amateur Radio Association or Club. They haven't been able to get the satellite setup working on remote so far. They got some kind of technical problems. But anyway, I just thought I'd like to point out that there's a great new satellite setup there at the ham shack for the Cowtown Amateur Radio Club in downtown Fort Worth. This is N5BB. That's all I got for news.
Thank you, Bill. Other announcements. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you will need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tom, N5HYP, is net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East that night. Dallas AMSAT West Net. AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. Other nets, first week, Ham Fixin's Net, Mondays at 7. Second week, MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Third week, another Ham Fixin's Net. Fourth week, Geek Net, Geek Beyond Ham Radio. Fifth week, Surprise Net. If we told you what it is, it would not be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Now, on Tuesdays, we have AMSAT East at 8 p.m. Fridays, Search City Simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, TechNet, 7 to 8 p.m., Skynet from 9 to 10:30, and Afterglow MovieNet from 10:30 to midnight. Then on the first and third Sundays, and Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, MODA. Every day, we have the ARRL net, the National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. And all are welcome to check in on any or all of those nets. So, we have tonight's Afterglow movie. I would like to ask KE5ICX to read this, since he wrote this, and tell you a very accurate synopsis of tonight's movie. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. Here is tonight's highly accurate synopsis for tonight's Afterglow movies at 10:30. Ulysses S. Grant emerged from the underground command center located under the White House. He'd been in communication with Victor Barbicane, the creator of Powder X, a force more powerful than the still-secret hypersonic nuclear steam engine under development at the Pittsburgh Hypersonic Horse Works just outside of Pittsburgh proper. Barbicane's new powder could be used to build a multi-stage horseless carriage which could be launched and navigated to the moon. There, Union troops could be stationed on the moon and potentially stop Confederate forces from marching on the north, thanks to the strategic advantage of the moon forts. Join us for this quite unexpected film from 1958. Who knew they'd make this thing? From Earth to the Moon, 1958. By the way, I think it was one of the last RKO films before, I think it was Warner Brothers bought them out, killed the thing in its crypt. That's it, Brenda. Back to you. KE5ICX.
Yeah, I think that's what killed RKO. Next, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. I like to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to fill us in.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. I forgot to check in Bob the Cat, too, so it's not just Chaz, it's Bob the Cat, too. A slide master, that would be Tom. He's our slide changer. If you didn't know, we have a video version of this. Go to w5fc.org, and you can find the links for the video version. One video version that I use, of course, is a YouTube channel, so, hey, you should go there. So slide number 1, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, May the 24th. That's in 6 days. And the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas. There's also a Zoom version of it as well. The featured speaker will be Vicki Dirksen from the Dark Skies Discovery Center. And also Chuck Allen from the Astronomical League will be giving a brief presentation as well. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so there should be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. It has been almost forever. Well, that's a long time. It's been almost forever since we've had a clear Saturday night. So, on the third Saturday night of the month, the stargazing is held at Cedar Hill. Do we have a ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? If so, come now. What's your call sign?
Golf 5, Zulu, Mike.
I think I heard Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf. Joe, do you have something to report, or were you just trying to check in?
Joe, I am at the Cedar Hill Star Party. There's telescope set up. Looking at the stars. You, Chaz.
Joe, I'm getting just some of the stuff over RF, but I'm getting all of you what you're transmitting on Echolink. So just to let you know, everyone, Joe is at the Cedar Hill Star Party, and Kelly on Echolink is saying hi to Vince. He's the one that actually is one of the people who runs the one of the people that runs the Cedar Hill Star Party. Joe, do you want to try relaying some more stuff again? I'll try to relay it if I don't hear anything except on Echolink. Go ahead and try it again.
I'm only on Echolink using my cell phone. There's about 5 telescopes set up and 4 astronomers here, 5 including me, and probably about...
Joe, everything you said came through that time. That's great. I understand we've got a gibbous moon out there that you're probably looking at. Might even be able to catch some things still in Orion's Nebula, and a few other bright things Of course, there's lots of double stars in the sky. I'm so glad that we've got a stargazing that's happening on a Saturday night. All right. Well, let's see. You can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JHA, sending it back to our net control.
Thank you, and thanks for the on-site report with the stargazing. I think it's probably a pretty good night for it. Okay, National Space Society events and activities. Bill in 5BB, do you have some news?
Yes, this is in 5BB. That's November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I happen to be the membership director and the member at large for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. National Space Society is a nonprofit organization which popularizes activities of humans in space. This is both manned and unmanned missions. Anything that goes up out of the Earth's atmosphere. The May meeting of the National Space Society was this past Sunday, on Sunday the 12th of May. It was by Dr. Pascal Lee, who works for NASA and also the Mars Society. And it was his second iteration of talking about the moon and Mars, possibilities for travel there, and where do you go on the moon and Mars. This time he was talking mainly about Mars. And what was exciting was he was part of the group that in the last 6 months discovered a unknown monster volcano on Mars. It's not active, but they were able to discover the location of it, and that changed slightly their ideas about where to land on Mars and things that could be done in that area. So it was a rather exciting meeting with the results. It was a virtual meeting that he presented to our local group. The June meeting of National Space Society is going to be on June, Sunday afternoon, June the 9th at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. This is on the southwest corner of Beltline and Highway 183 in Irving, starting at 3:30 p.m. That's always the second Sunday of the month. So Sunday, June the 9th, at 3:30 p.m. That's our June meeting. I don't yet know the topic for that meeting. It may be the International Space Development Conference. So what's coming up next before that meeting is the International Space Development Conference in Los Angeles, adjacent to the LAX airport. This will be next week. It is starting on Thursday, the 23rd of May, and ending on Memorial Day. Ending on the day before Memorial Day, on Sunday the 26th. So it's 4 days, the 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th in Los Angeles. And there'll be all kinds of interesting speakers. William Shatner of Star Trek fame will be there on the stage to receive the Highland Award for contributions to popularizing space travel. And there will be ex-astronauts there and people that are very active in the space industry, scientists. Dr. Stern from Southwest Research Institute, Dr. Alan Stern, he will be giving the speech on Saturday evening. Saturday lunch. He'll be giving that. So lots of interesting people and things going on there at the International Space Development Conference next week in Los Angeles. Then our local chapter has one more activity in May. On Friday, May the 31st, we have another space rendezvous. On the last Friday evening of every month at 6 to 8 p.m., we have a social event called Space Rendezvous, currently at Cheddar's Restaurant in Irving. This is on Highway 635 on the South Frontage Road between MacArthur and Bush Turnpike. So this event is from 6 to 8 p.m., and it will be on Friday, May the 31st. Just a social event to come and talk about. You don't have to be a member of any group. Talk to other people about space, human activities in space mainly. And that's everything I have. Thank you very much. If you have any interest in National Space Society or local chapter, or any questions about these events, please contact me, Bill, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. That's in 5BB at ARRL.net. Or space at Byrom.net. SPACE at BYROM.net. In 5BB, back to net control. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any more check-ins now?
November 5, Tango Lima Hotel, Will in DeSoto, Texas.
Okay, I got November 5, Tango Lima Hotel, but I missed your name. Would you please repeat it?
My name is Will, Whiskey India Lima Lima.
Thank you very much, Will. This is WB5OZL, and this is Skynet. So this is the discussion topic of the evening. This is 22 amazing facts about space and astronomy, and these are Sky at nightmagazine.com. And I can't take credit for any of this. Tom, KE5ICX, put all this together, so thank you so much, Tom. So, space is vast and filled with weird and wonderful things, including amazing facts about it. Some of the bizarre inhabitants and phenomena of our universe are more astounding than even the most extreme sci-fi or space movie. This selection of some of the most mind-boggling facts about our cosmos takes a bite-sized look at our intriguing planet, moon, solar system, galaxy, and universe. First up, the moon is lemon-shaped. Despite its appearance in the night sky, our natural satellite is nowhere near round. In fact, the moon is shaped like a lemon with flattened poles and bulges on both the near and far side and around its equator. This strange shape is thought to have been created during interactions with Earth soon after its formation. In 2009, astronomers exploring a giant cloud of gas and dust in the center of the Milky Way made a surprise discovery. The cloud was packed full of a chemical known as ethyl formate, which has a couple of intriguing properties. It is responsible for giving raspberries their flavor and has the smell of rum. Another nearby region is also notable as it's full of ethyl alcohol or ethanol, the type we use to make alcoholic beverages. It contains enough alcohol to supply every person on the planet with 300,000 pints of beer per day for the next billion years. If bottled at the source, the proof of this beer would be very low, with an alcohol content of less than 1%. But as the cloud also contains plenty of other nasty chemicals, among them carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide, it would still leave you with quite a headache the next morning. Next, on Mercury, a day is twice as long as a year. Technically, one Mercurian day lasts 59 Earth days, while a year lasts 88. However, due to Mercury's very eccentric orbit and alignment with the Sun, the length of time from sunrise to sunrise, known as a solar day, is equal to 176 Earth days, twice as long as a Mercurian year. You could survive for a couple of minutes. The next step, you could survive for a couple of minutes in a leaky spacesuit. Although films such as Total Recall show instant explosions and rapidly puffed up spacesuits, the effects of being exposed to space are slightly less dramatic. Although it would definitely be unpleasant, you could survive for a couple of minutes. After around 10 seconds, you would lose consciousness. The lower pressure of the vacuum would cause your blood to boil along with other bodily fluids, the moisture of your tongue, for example, but this boiling alone would not be fatal due to the pressure maintained by our blood vessels themselves. Gas bubbles would form in your bodily fluids, causing your body to swell up and bloat. The low humidity of space would cause you to cool down rapidly, and your eyes may freeze over. Within 1 to 2 minutes, the lack of oxygen would be deadly. The stress of the situation may make these symptoms worse. You would become oxygen deprived more quickly. A rapid decompression would cause damage to your lungs, eardrums, and sinuses, along with bruising and bleeding from soft tissues. And I hope you didn't have an image of that. Next, 1 teaspoon of neutron star weighs the same as the human population. A neutron star's density is mind-boggling. These stars are composed almost entirely of neutrons packed together in a tiny radius. Just a teaspoonful of this material would weigh over 1 trillion kilograms, more than the weight of the entire human population, which reaches a few 100 billion kilograms. To make something as dense as a neutron star, the whole of humanity would need to be crammed into a space the size of a sugar cube. Next up, gamma ray bursts release more energy in 10 seconds than our sun will in its entire life. Nothing in the universe rivals the power unleashed during a gamma ray burst with a brief but incredibly intense flash of high energy radiation. There are many types of gamma ray bursts. Some are thought to form when a massive star implodes, others when 2 neutron stars merge together. Next, there are stars we will never be able to see. Ever since the Big Bang, most objects in space have been moving away from one another. In fact, the expansion of the universe is actually accelerating. This is one of the facts about space that has really rocked this cosmological boat over the past few years. As regions of space are whizzing away from one another at an ever-increasing rate, the first population of stars to form in the universe are now too far away for us to ever hope of spying them, even using the best telescope or best present or future telescope. Hope is not lost. We can attempt to spot them indirectly via the energetic bursts of radiation they emit at the end of their lives. Next, black holes have theoretical opposites known as white holes. Black holes are known for their voracious appetites. Their influence is so strong that even light can't escape their gravity. But they have a theoretical converse, white holes. They are effectively the opposite of their dark relatives, spitting out light and matter instead of trapping it. So far, they're purely hypothetical objects. Astronomers are contemplating how they could form in reality. Jupiter's magnetic field is bigger than the Moon. The region of space in which a massive magnetic field dominates is known as its magnetosphere. These regions surround planets, pulsars, and even our galaxy. The planets in our solar system have magnetospheres that interact with and are shaped by the charged particles in the wind streaming from our sun. The largest magnetosphere in our solar system surrounds Jupiter. Jupiter rotates very fast and has a very strong magnetic field, and its magnetosphere is filled with plasma from its volcanically active moon Io. These features, coupled with the fact that the solar wind is slower and less dense at Jupiter than at Earth, lead to a very sizable Jovian magnetosphere. It is easily big enough to contain a body the size of our sun, and if visible, would be larger than the moon in our night sky. Quite an achievement considering it is over 1,500 times farther away. Neptune has only completed one orbit around the sun since its discovery. This is one of our favorite facts about space, and perhaps the most memorable if you want to impress your friends next time you're sharing cool facts. Neptune takes a whopping 165 years to complete one full orbit around the sun. Since it was discovered in 1846, Neptune only finished its first full post-discovery orbit in 2011. Demoted planet Pluto has yet to match this. It's not even completing one full 248-year orbit since its discovery in 1930. Next, planets can wander through space without a parent star. Not all planets form and stay around stars. Astronomers estimate there could be more than 200 billion of them floating free and drifting through our galaxy. These rogue planets were thought to have been kicked out of their home systems. While this is true for some, other planets may have formed completely independently of an accretion disk, as was the case of our solar system, instead of forming from the collapse of tiny cold clouds known as globulets. The sun loses 1 billion kilos per second. Particles in the sun's upper atmosphere are so hot and energetic that they speed out into space as part of the solar wind. Our star sheds around 1.3 trillion particles every second. This equates to roughly 1 billion kilograms of matter per second, or one Earth every 185 million years. Most sun-like stars in our galaxy are in multiple star systems. Our star may be a single star, but it is in the minority. Over half the sun-like stars in the Milky Way are part of the multiple star systems, binaries or triplets, with stars orbiting around a common center of mass. Most lower mass stars, like red dwarfs, however, live alone without a companion. Vast amounts of water have been found in space. Earth's oceans may not be that unique. 3 of Jupiter's moons, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, and 2 of Saturn's, Enceladus, and Titan, Enceladus is pictured here, are thought to have underwater seas. Europa's ocean may contain over twice the volume of water found on Earth. However, the most water ever discovered surrounds a black hole some 12 billion light years away. This region contains vast amounts of water vapor, the equivalent of 140 trillion times the volume of the water in Earth's oceans. There is gravity on the International Space Station. Footage of astronauts on the ISS may give the impression of a gravity-free environment, but onboard gravity is actually only 10 to 11% weaker than it is on Earth's surface. This particular one of our facts relates to the common belief that there's no gravity in space. Astronauts float freely due to the space station's continual state of free fall, the same effect experienced by skydivers. The difference with the ISS is that it also has horizontal motion. As the ISS moves sideways and falls towards Earth, the horizon curves away beneath anyone on board. Our days are getting longer. Earth's spin speed is slowing. Every year it takes our planet a little longer to complete one full revolution on its axis. The change is minuscule, however. Every century, Earth slows by 1/500th of a second. 1,000 years from now, one day will be 2/100ths of a second longer than today. The moon is getting farther away every year. The moon exerts a pull on Earth, causing our planet to be slightly egg-shaped. It affects water even more, creating tides and causing the oceans to pile up towards one side of the planet, forming a tidal bulge. This bulge is dragged around with the moon as it orbits. As Earth rotates faster than the moon, 24 hours versus 27.3 days, the bulge moves slightly ahead of the moon's position in orbit. The moon pulls back at it, effectively trying to slow it down and causing Earth's rotation rate to gradually slow down over time as a result. As the two bodies interact through gravity, this tugging causes Earth to lose energy while the moon gains energy. Next, heat from the Big Bang is still around today. The early universe consisted of a hot soup of ionized gas, a sort of opaque plasma. About 380,000 years after the Big Bang, this gas cooled sufficiently enough that atoms were able to form. Radiation left over from the Big Bang is still with us today and is known as the cosmic microwave background, or CMB. It can't be seen with the naked eye, but various missions over the years have been able to study it in microwave light, including ESA's Planck satellite and the WMAP mission. Now, I think I might hold off there. This is pretty long, and we have a lot more to cover, so you can look it up if you want to see the whole article, but I think we're going to call it quits on this and move on. Do we have any more check-ins? Okay, this is WB50ZL. Next segment is called What's Up. This will be presented by Chaz, KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening again, everyone. Slide Master, that would be slide number 2, please. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide number 3, please. On May the 15th was the first quarter moon. So the current phase of the moon, if you didn't go out and take a look at it this evening, it's a waxing gibbous. On May the 17th, the moon was at its apogee, that was just yesterday, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,640 kilometers. On May the 23rd is the date of full moon. On May the 30th is the third quarter phase of the moon. On June the 2nd, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 368,102 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 4. On May the 19th, the moon and Spica are in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky, more southern sky. Slide Master, slide number 5. On May the 23rd, the moon and Antares are in conjunction in the southeastern evening sky. In fact, the moon occults the star Antares before it rises, but we can see the reappearance of Antares around 9:12 p.m. Now, the time will vary depending on where you're located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You'll need to have a very low southeastern horizon because the reappearance of Antares from behind the moon happens when the pair are only 1 degree above the horizon. A pair of binoculars make it look nice, too. If it's clear, I hope it's clear. Slide Master, slide number 6, please. On May the 27th, in the southern morning sky, the moon and the minor planet Ceres will be in conjunction. A pair of binoculars will be needed to view Ceres. A good star map and or computer astronomy software would be useful as well. I use the astronomy software that's free called Stellarium. Slide Master, slide number 7. On May the 30th, on May the 31st is when the Saturn and the Moon will only be in conjunction about 1.5 degrees apart in the sky around 5 a.m. Now, just an hour later, Slide Master Slide number 8, on May the 31st at around 6 a.m. in the southeastern sky, in a very strong twilight, Mercury and the planet Uranus will be in conjunction. Again, they're only going to be about 1.5 degrees apart. Jupiter and the Pleiades are close by. Be interesting to look if it's clear that morning. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 9, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question, or maybe you have a need for a fill on something that I covered? Maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Right, hearing nothing, we'll go on to slide number 10. So as the moon wanes next week, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for a world. It's the only one where humans live right now. And until next time, well, actually, I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, back to our net control. Brenda, back to you.
Thanks very much, Kev. Next up, space exploration and space history. This week, Kelly, K5KTX, will present. So go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Brenda. So good evening, everyone. So my segment is on space exploration and space history. And I thought kind of do something a little bit different. Article is one of my favorite podcasts. From about 2018, and it's exploration in art. And though the possibility of housing in space is a shitty idea, it's hardly novel. Scientists, engineers have been exploring how humans might come into decades. Rick Judas and NASA-affiliated artists generated visual of what space exploration looks like. And I hope you're watching the video just because you'll see such as fantastic artwork. This is aimed in Mountain View, California. A team of NASA and university researchers at O'Neill imagine future with human beings surviving in free flow. O'Neill and his team as a calculate cognitive of leaving Earth for another fold in the universe, but they need to call on illustrators to see the possibility. Continue. I'm not sure what that was. I was just here to stat a minute. Well, NASA was a long time hero that work. And then we come study on the space shuttle project. Of living in space. O'Neill has studied space colonization for the past years at Princeton. According to Dice had pretty much designed systems to build habitats in space. In response to this research, NASA provided Giudice with technical information and simple diagrams of what these possible future settlements might look like. And then he interpreted the data into detailed pencil sketches. The team of scientists devised multiple approaches to space habitation, so Giudice dreamt up several illustrations as a way to visualize them. Gerard O'Neill wanted the habitats to look like an English countryside, Giudice remembered. Color renderings drawn in hand with acrylic were presented as scale illustrations, auxiliary material rather than art. Culture and philosophy of society in the 1970s was that the as now as you said. This day which starts 1 year moon landing with possibilities into space and finding some space keep there. Participate in exploratory missions such as going to the moon, and so space settlement seemed to just follow as a possibility, says Giudice. Everything was very optimistic about that at the time. Despite the plausibility of O'Neill's that future might use space exploration for qualities. I remember him saying large government with money like the United States was able to fund such an incredible effort, but he said got to do it in the next 20 years. Now it was years. However, there's still hope for space colonies. There's been a real renaissance of space exploration that's been picked up by the private industry, which has given new hope to settle Mars and larger stations. Says so. Of space is not computerized for him. The influence of hyper-modern illustrations like that as mainstream media's idea of future from science fiction movies made all uses same visuals of space habitation like persist. It's going to be how cultures these excitement of remaining still opening. On space this week, on May the 15th, 1970, the Upper Skylab on space launched to Saturn's rocket. It was the last Saturn V ever launched. 60 seconds after liftoff, meteoroids formed. This caused a cascade of thermal protection layers and the panels that were close to reached orbit to overheat. Engine capacitated for the mission. In 10 days, the personnel workstation plan was put together and equipped. The first Skylab crew, Pete Conrad, Paul Weitz, and Joe Kerwin, had to do things that no one had ever planned, including adding a sun shield to the space station and opening a jammed solar panel. They launched on May 25th, and that mission saved the Skylab program.
This is KE5ICX. Kelly asked me to go ahead and continue at this point. There's cutting in and out on Echolink tonight from her location. So I'll go ahead and continue with her presentation. My apologies. I'm not sure what's happening there, but it's just very rough this evening. So continuing on with space history, May 15th, 1963, the Mercury Atlas 9, or Phase 7, launched. This flight by Gordo Cooper, was the first U.S. space flight that lasted longer than 24 hours. It's also the last flight for the Project Mercury, and therefore the last time that a U.S. astronaut launched solo. Cooper's second and last space flight was commander of the Gemini 5 mission with Pete Conrad in 1965. There's also been some discussion about flying a Mercury Atlas 10 mission, with Alan Shepard personally lobbied President Kennedy for the approval to fly that mission. But the president deferred to the judgment of NASA leadership. Administrator Jim Webb said that at the time to move ahead with Project Gemini. Shepard was grounded for medical issues shortly afterward and would not have flown in space until 1971 when he commanded the Apollo 14, the third mission to land on the moon. On May 16, 2011, the Space Shuttle Endeavour launched on her last space flight, STS-134. The 16-day mission delivered the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer and spare parts to the International Space Station. Coincidentally, 19 years earlier, Endeavour's first mission, STS-49, landed on the same day, May 16th, in 1992. Now retired, the orbiter is on display at the California Science Center in Los Angeles. On May 18, 1969, Apollo 10 launched. The crew mission was to fly the complete profile of a moon landing mission without actually touching down on the moon. The goal was, of course, achieved on the next mission, Apollo 11. Apollo 10 was only the second human space flight to orbit the moon and the first to travel to the moon with a lunar module. While orbiting the moon on May 22, 1969, astronaut Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan descended inside the lunar module, call sign Snoopy, to within 9 miles of the lunar surface. Meanwhile, astronauts John Young flew the command module, call sign Charlie Brown, awaiting the return of his crewmates. Having successfully tested the full lunar landing profile, the crew of Apollo 10 returned to Earth, splashing down on May 26, 1969. John Young returned to the moon as commander of Apollo 16, and Gene Cernan commanded Apollo 17. Unlike his crew, Tom Stafford never did get to walk on the moon. Astronaut birthdays we have on May 12, 1962, Gregory Johnson. He flew on STS-123 and 134. May 14, 1962, Donald Monaco, STS-39, 54, and 66. May 14, 1957, William Gregory. He flew on STS-67. May 14, 64, James Kelly, STS-102 and 114. May 14, 1988, Jessica Watkins, SpaceX Crew 4, Expedition 6768. May 15, 1942, Tony England, STS-51F. May 15, 1949, Frank Culberson Jr. He flew STS-38, 51, 105, Expedition 3, and STS-108. May 16, 1945, Brewster H. Shaw flew STS-9, STS-61B, and STS-28. May 17, 67, Joseph M. Caba. He flew STS-119 with Expedition 3132 and Expedition 53 and 54. Finally, on May 18, 1930, John Lynn flew STS-51B. And that's it. Compliments of Miss Kelly, K5KTX. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you so much for taking over there, Tom. And do we have any more tech?
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, K5, KOB, Philip in Wills Point.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu Whiskey J, near Weatherford.
Okay, we picked up Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip, and Kilo 5, Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey J. Okay, next, this is WB50ZL. So next up, we're going back to Chaz, KF5JHA. He's going to present Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 11. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer, Coma Berenices, or Coma Berenices. I've heard it pronounced in both ways. It's Berenice's hair, and Canis Venatici, the hunting dogs. Slide Master, slide number 12, please. The jokes of the week. Now, the appropriate response is either the booing or hissing. If you want to laugh or clap, that's your issue, but it's probably booing or hissing is the most common response. Why aren't dogs good dancers? By the way, these are related to the constellations of the week. Why aren't dogs good dancers? Because they have two left feet, of course. Two left feet, okay. How do dog catchers get paid? They get paid by the pound. Which dog always knows what time it is? Well, this is an easy one. Someone's got to get this one. A watchdog. Okay, all right. Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use a honeycomb. How does Moses style his hair? With a parting, of course. Because of the lockdown, my hair has never been longer. I did this joke a long time ago, about 4 years ago. But it really is starting to grow on me. All right, I have one more that's not on the list, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So I have a comb, but I'm not getting rid of it. You know why? Because it's hard to part with. Slide Master, slide number 13, please. The constellations of Coma Berenices and Canis Venatici can be found tonight almost directly overhead between the constellations of Boötes and Leo. There are lots of things to take note of in these constellations. I'll talk about a few of them. Initially, I had 9 pages worth of information on these constellations, but I've cut it down to just 2 pages. So that way we have time for maybe a couple of other segments of Skynet tonight. Slide Master, slide number 14. Coma Berenices was recognized as an asterism, which used to belong to the constellation of Leo. Tycho Brahe was the first to recognize it as a distinct constellation. The constellation is one of the few constellations to be named after an historical figure. In this case, it is named after Queen Bernice II of Egypt, wife of Ptolemy III. Slide Master, slide number 15. Millet 111 is the Coma star cluster, visible to the naked eye because it's made up of 5th and 6th magnitude stars. In a dark, clear sky, you can see a bunch of stars in that area. It's a real star cluster. and not just a chance alignment of stars, and is also known as designations as Colander 256. The cluster consists of about 80 members scattered across about 5 degrees of sky. It is 260 light years away. The cluster is one of the nearest open clusters to us. For many people, the cluster is not just Coma Berenices. It is the constellation of Coma Berenices. Slide master, slide number 16, please. Next is the 53rd object in Charles Messier's list, M53, which is a compact globular cluster. It looks like a fuzzy star on an 80 millimeter refractor at 8 power. At 16 power, it is some width, and about 38 power is noticeable bright core surrounded by faint, wispy outer regions, but it's not easily resolved at all. No individual stars are visible. In an 8-inch telescope, however, it begins to resolve. More aperture is needed for it to be better to be resolved. It can be completely resolved in 12-inch or larger telescopes. Slide master, slide number 17, please. Slide 17. Messier object number 64 is the Black-Eyed Galaxy. In an 80 millimeter telescope, it is just a tiny smudge at 8 power. It takes a noticeable elliptical shape at 16 power. An 8-inch telescope, it is an obvious stellar nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded by a fuzzy oval. The dark dust bane of lanes that form the black eye are not visible as such, but instead the oval is asymmetric, as one side were cut off parallel to the long axis of the oval. In a 12-inch and larger telescope, it begins to look like its namesake of a black eye. Slide master, slide number 18. Photographs show M88 to be a nice spiral galaxy. It is obliquely angled spiral, similar to M31, the Andromeda galaxy. In fact, Stephen James Amir writes that astronomer John Malus aptly described M88 as resembling the Andromeda galaxy, depicting it in a very small-scale photograph. In a 16-inch Dob, I'll be using one of those in a couple weeks on the dark sky site, you should be able to see some modeling in M88. But it's hard to pick out individual dust lanes, even with a 16-inch telescope. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 19, we start with the other constellation. The constellation of Canis Venatici does not have any bright stars, but it does have some interesting stars in it. It is a small northern constellation that was created by Helvellus, and the 17th century. His name means in Latin hunting dogs, Canis Venatici. And the constellation is often depicted in illustrations as representing the dogs of Bootes, the herdsmen. Corcoroli, the constellation's brightest star, is an apparent magnitude of 2.9. It is a binary star. Corcoroli is a binary star that is a combined apparent magnitude of, like I said, 2.8 or 2.9. The two stars are 19.6 arcseconds apart in the sky and are easily resolved in small telescopes. The system lies approximately 110 light years from the sun. Slide master, slide number 20. M3 is a wonderful globular cluster. You can find it about halfway between Corcoroli and Arcturus. It is easily seen in binoculars, and even in small telescopes, you can see some of the individual outlined stars. With large telescopes, like 8 inches or larger, you should be able to see and resolve individual stars clear down to the core. It's about 34,000 light years in distance from us. Slide master, slide number 21, please. The remaining list of objects are deep sky objects. They're galaxies. M94 is also known as the Croc's Eye Galaxy. It can be found a little bit north of halfway between Alpha and Beta Canis Venatici. In a 12 or 13-inch telescope, it appears as a bright, fuzzy comet. years away. Slide Master, slide number 22, M63. The Sunflower Galaxy is looking at a photograph. It does look sort of like a sunflower. You can find it 1/3 of the way between Corcoran and what? Oh, I didn't write down what. Once again, binoculars, you should see it as a very faint, fuzzy object. And small telescopes can be easily found. But a 10-inch telescope or larger telescopes with 200 magnification and good seeing conditions, details can be seen. It is 37 million light years away. Slide Master, slide number 23. Messy Objects M51. The Whirlpool Galaxy is a showpiece galaxy located between the stars of Alkaid and Corcoran. M51 is located just off the handle of the Big Dipper. It's easily seen in binoculars in the dark sky conditions. The graceful winding arms of the majestic spiral galaxy M51 appear like a grand spiral staircase sweeping through space. They are actually long lanes of stars and gas laced between the dust. Such striking arms are a hallmark of the so-called grand design spiral galaxies. These arms serve as an important purpose. They are star forming factories, compressing hydrogen gas and creating clusters of new stars. Some astronomers think that the whirlpool arms are particularly prominent because of the effects of a close encounter with NGC 5195, the small and yellow galaxy that is the outermost tips of one of the arms. The compact galaxy appears to be tugging at an arm, the tidal forces which trigger the new star formations. Hubble Space Telescope's clear views show that NGC 5195 is passing behind M51. The small galaxy appears to have been gliding past the whirlpool for hundreds, if not millions of years. Well, maybe hundreds of millions of years. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 24. Now, there's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Coma Berenices and Canis Venatici. I have given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects in it. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 25, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week, Coma Berenices here, and Canis Venatici, the hunting dogs. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on the deep sky objects that I've used and borrowed, and I steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week we'll take a look at Virgo, the maiden. And this is KF5JJ, sending it back to our net control. 73, everyone. It's all yours, Brenda.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brenda. This is KE5I6. We have on May 19th Falcon 9 launch of the N-Roll 146. This is SLC-4E at Vandenberg in California. Falcon 9 rocket will launch an N-Roll 146 mission on behalf of the National Reconnaissance Office. According to Dr. Troy Mink, the NRO Principal Deputy Director, this will be the first launch of the agency's proliferated architecture, which focuses on space-based ISR, which is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Rutgers was the first to report that these satellites were built by SpaceX and Northrop Grumman under a classified $1.8 billion contract. We have on May 21st the Atlas V launch of the infamous CST-100 Starliner. This will be from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket, designated 085 will launch Boeing CST-100 Starliner spacecraft on its first mission with astronauts, known as the crew test flight to the International Space Station. The capsule will dock with the space station, then return to Earth to landing in the western United States. NASA's astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sydney Williams, will fly on the mission. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with 2 solid rocket boosters and a dual-engine Centaur upper stage. Next up, to be determined, Test Flight 1. This is from Pad 1 from Bowen Orbital Spaceport. Gilmore Space in Australia is preparing to launch the inaugural flight of the Ares Block 1 rocket. The 3-stage rocket will be 82 feet tall and is equipped with a 4.9 foot diameter payload fairing. The rocket is designated designed to send up to 305 kilograms into low Earth orbit. First mission, called Test Flight 1, does not appear to have a payload on board. June 24th will be a launch of Long March 2C. This is from Xicheng Satellite Launch Center, People's Republic of China. Chinese Long March 2C rocket will launch the Space-Based Multi-Band Astronomical Variable Objects Monitor, or SBOM, spacecraft. The spacecraft is a dual Franco-Chinese mission, which is dedicated to the study of the most distant explosions of stars that gamma-ray burst. There are 4 main instruments on board, 2 of which are French, the other 2 are Chinese. The spacecraft will be launched in a 625-kilometer Earth orbit and will operate for at least 3 years with the option to extend for another 2 years beyond that. And then finally, on June 25th, Falcon Heavy GOES U will launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Falcon Heavy will launch the 4th and final satellite of the next generation series of geostationary weather satellites for NASA and NOAA. GOES U will orbit 22,300 miles above the equator to monitor weather conditions across the United States. The satellite will be renamed GOES 19 once it reaches its optimal or operational orbit. And that's it for me, Brenda. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Next up, do we have any more check-ins? Okay, next we're going to have a space exploration, and this is an article from ScienceDaily.com entitled Detection of an Earth-Sized Exoplanet Orbiting the Ultra-Cool Dwarf Star Speculus-3. The Speculus project, led by the astronomer Michael Gillen of the University of Liège, has just discovered a new Earth-sized exoplanet around Speculus-3, an ultra-cool dwarf star as small as Jupiter, twice as cold as our Sun, and located 55 light-years from Earth. After the famous TRAPPIST-1, Speculus-3 is the second planetary system discovered around this type of star. Ultra-cool dwarf stars are the least massive stars in our universe, similar to the size of Jupiter, more than twice as cold, 10 times less massive, and 100 times less luminous than our Sun. Their lifespan is over 100 times longer than that of our star, and they will be the last stars to shine when the universe becomes cold and dark. Although they are far more, are still poorly understood due to their low luminosity. In particular, very little is known about their planets, even though they represent a significant fraction of the planetary population of our Milky Way. It is against this backdrop that the Speculus Consortium, led by the University of Liège, has just announced the discovery of a new Earth-sized planet orbiting a nearby ultra-cool dwarf star. The Speculus 3b exoplanet lies around 55 light-years from Earth, which is very close on a cosmic scale. Our galaxy the Milky Way stretches over 100,000 light years. Speculus 3 is only the second planetary system to be discovered around the type of star. Speculus 3b is practically the size as our planet, explains astronomer Michael Gillen, the first author of the article published in Nature Astronomy. A year, i.e. an orbit around the star, lasts around 17 hours. Days and nights, on the other hand, should never end. We believe that the planet rotates synchronously so that the same side, called the day side, always faces the star just like the moon does for the Earth. On the other hand, the night side hand will be locked in endless darkness. The Speculus, and that stands for Search for Planets Eclipsing Ultra-Cool Stars project, initiated and led by astronomer Michael Gillen, has been specially designed to search for exoplanets around the nearest ultra-cool dwarf stars. These stars are scattered across the sky, so you must observe them one by one over a period of weeks to have a good chance of detecting transiting planets. This requires a dedicated network of professional robotic telescopes. This is the concept behind Speculus, jointly run by the University of Liège, Cambridge, Birmingham, Bern, MIT, and ETH at Zurich. And I think I'll quit there because it's already 10:26. So, Tom, do you want to give us anything about visible satellite passages over the next couple of days? K5ICX.
Yeah, I can give you a couple. The ISS has one good pass coming up this week. This will be on May 26th. Well, almost next week, but May 26th, minus 2.7 magnitude at 22:25 in the evening. It'll reach its highest point at 35 degrees at 22:28, and fall to the north-northeast at 22:28, going into shadow at 35 degrees. That's it for ISS. Tiangong Space Station, the Chinese space station, has a couple of good passes. One is May 20th, minus 2.2 magnitude at 5:37 in the morning. Out of the west-southwest, reaches highest point at 76 degrees at 5:40, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 5:43. May 21st, following day, has a minus 1.5 magnitude pass at 4:37, an hour earlier than the day before. Out of the southeast, 46 degrees, coming out of shadow, and reaches its passes or falls at 4:40 to the east-northeast. May 22nd has a pass, minus 1.5 magnitude at 5:08 a.m. out of the west. It'll reach its highest point at 5:10 at 46 degrees, and it'll fall to the northeast at 5:13. May 22nd, I gave you that one. May 24th, I'll give you that one. That'll be at minus 0.8 magnitude at 6:39 a.m. Out of the northwest, it'll reach its highest point at 4:39 at 32 degrees, and it'll fall to the northeast at 4:42. That's it, Brenda. That's all I'm going to give you tonight. This is KE5I6.
Thank you, Tom. So, are there any checked-in stations with other remarks or questions, or any final check-ins, or does anyone need any fills?
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, tonight we had 26 hands participating on the air. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, Contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WB50ZL, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:30 p.m. local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. So KE5ICX, what time are we going to start the Afterglow movie net?
So easy enough. It's 10:30, so we'll start at 10:35. So we've got about 5 minutes to go do whatever you need to do. Come back then. KE5ICX. Okay, it is time for the Afterglow movie net. I am a KE5ICX looking at control for tonight's wonderful movie. Tonight's film is from 1958. It stars Joseph Cotton, Dalton Trumbull, I guess some other people I don't recognize, George Sanders, and it is a 1958 Technicolor science fiction film production that originated with RKO Pictures, but when RKO went into bankruptcy, the film was acquired and released by Warner Brothers. Why? We have no idea. It's a very loose adaptation of Jules Verne's 1865 science fiction novel of the same name. So it is a full Technicolor film, widescreen, sort of, kind of. Oh well, at any rate, here's the plot. Shortly after the end of the American Civil War, munitions producer Victor Barbicane announces that he has invented a new explosive called Power X, which he claims is much more powerful than any previously devised. Metallurgist Stivent Nicole scoffs at Barbicane's claims and offers a wager of $100,000 that it cannot destroy his invention, the hardest metal in existence. Barbicane stages a demonstration using the puny cannon and demonstrates Nicole's wise material and a portion of the countryside. President Ulysses S. Grant requests that Barbicane cease development of his invention after several nervous countries warn that continuing work on Power X could be considered an act of war. Barbicane agrees, but when he discovers the pieces of Nicole's metal retrieved from the demonstration had somehow been converted into an extremely strong yet lightweight ceramic, he cannot resist the chance to construct a spaceship to travel to the moon. Of course, why wouldn't he? He recruits Nicole to help build the ship. Meanwhile, Nicole's daughter, Virginia, and Barbicane's assistant, Ben Sharp, are attracted to each other. Why not? After completing the spaceship, Barbicane, Nicole, and Sharp board it, and amid much fanfare, take off. Once they are in outer space, the strongly religious Nicole reveals that he has sabotaged the vehicle, believing that Barbicane has flouted God's laws. When it is discovered that Virginia has stowed away, Nicole cooperates with Barbicane in a desperate attempt to save her. Sharp is knocked out, and he and Virginia are placed in the safest compartment of the ship. Barbicane and Nicole then fire rockets that send the young couple on their way back to Earth, while the two scientists land on the moon in another section. With no way off, they are able to signal to the young that they have reached the moon safely. The end. So we skip all the special effects with the re-entry and the dangers, and I don't know, I guess it's just easy to fly to the moon back then as opposed to today. Okay, well, you know the drill. What we'll do is I'll take check-ins. That will include your call sign, your name, and did you see this week's film, From the Earth to the Moon, from 1958. Then we will ask you to, one at a time, tell us what you thought of the plot, followed by the acting and characterization, followed by special effects, music, whatever you want, or if you missed something along the way, you're more than welcome to pick up on a previous topic that wasn't covered completely. So I'll go ahead and take check-in. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see tonight's movie, From the Earth to the Moon? And you can still check in even if you haven't seen the movie. In fact, if you want to, you can talk about the miniseries From the Earth to the Moon, which has nothing to do with this, really, except the moon part, which is really good, too. It doesn't matter, because this movie was, So let's go. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see From the Earth to the Moon?
KJ5EYK. KJ5EYK. Alex, and I looked for the movie, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Brenda, I saw the movie.
Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J from Weatherford. I did see the film.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. I did see this movie, and I've seen the Tom Hanks series a bunch of times in B5F.
Okay, let me get who we got checked in. We got KG5EYK. That's Alex. He didn't see the movie. Alex, you can get the info if you would. I can send you the email link to the movies every week. In fact, I send them out usually on Sunday. Or you can go to Facebook and go to Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow Movie, and you'll find them underneath. It's a tagged item there with the movie. Now, we did have a problem with this week's movie. YouTube had it, and then it was pulled, so I had to find an alternate source. So I sent a follow-up email with the new link. So, yeah, it was a little tricky to find. There is no doubt about that. It was easy earlier in the week, and then later in the week, not so much. Does that help, Alex?
It does. It does. I'm looking you up on Facebook right now. It's just Afterglow, 1 word or 2 words?
Yeah, it's just 1 word, Afterglow, and then the second word is movie.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
The end of tonight. Let's see. Next is Brenda. WB50ZL. Brenda, she saw the film. KG5BZW. J near Weatherford. Yeah, she saw the film. NB5F, Virginia, Fort Worth. She saw the film, and she did see one of my favorite miniseries, From the Earth to the Moon. But unfortunately, we're going to be talking about that fine film from 1958. Anyone else want to check in? Please come out.
Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this highly accurate historical document.
Okay, very good. We got the usual suspects, TV9SOK, Sean over in Fort Worth. Very good. Well, this is what we'll do. Alex, I'm going to hold you back on this one for a little bit, but I will come back to you. We're glad you're here. And we'll ask you this very dubious question. After hearing our comments about the film, does this sound like something that you would want to see? I have a feeling the answer may be no, but you never know. Sometimes people go, gosh, that's the best thing since sliced bread. Why, we don't know. I don't think this one will be, but let's find out, shall we? So I'm going to start with Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, what did you think about the plot for our movie From the Earth to the Moon from 1958?
This is WB50ZL. Oh, I love being first. It had a plot, a rather plotting plot. So typical of the 1950s. If you didn't know it was made then, you'd guess it after seeing it. It's just that kind of a dumb stuff that they did back then. The plot was fairly simple. This guy discovers this new explosive, and he's going to get rich with it, and wants his investors to come along and get rich with it. And he's going to prove it by sending a rocket to the moon, which I don't understand what the reason was for that. You could test it on Earth just as easily as you could by sending it to the moon. That just me seems like a real waste of time and money. But that's what they decided, and then they get in their ship, their very spacious ship, and of course the girl is a stowaway. There's always a girl, regardless of what technique they used to get her there in place, but there always is. And sometimes she's a clever scientist and a credit to the crew, and sometimes she's just window dressing. She's just there to be pretty and for somebody to fall in love with. It's just very predictable. And this movie was pretty predictable, except right at the end, I kind of expected the two guys that crashed into the moon to somehow pull it out and save themselves and go back to Earth. So I was kind of surprised about that. But the other two, the girl and her boyfriend, managed to escape crashing to the moon. So on the whole, I'd say it's kind of pointless, sort of a pointless story. There were actually a lot better movies in the 50s than this one, but it was that type and that time. This is a typical movie for the 50s. So I didn't watch it back then. Probably would have if I had the chance, but I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I saw it. At least now I've seen it. Will I see it again? No. Okay, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okie dokie, thank you, Brenda. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what do you think about the plot for our fine film From the Earth to the Moon from 1958?
KG5BZW. Well, maybe at the beginning I had been going for it. It's, I don't know. So, in the end, it was a weird film, and I couldn't make head or tail of it. I don't know. It just got weirder as it as it continued. They made plot decisions that did not make much sense to me at all. Especially with the guy sabotaging the flight and all that, and you kind of know what they were going for, but I know what they were. That's just it. I kind of know. I don't know what it's straight up what they were going for. They just. The whole thing made me wonder why it was even made. It was really just strange. I mean, you can have a kind of a like tragic ending or whatever, but this film just didn't really seem to have a lot of purpose for a lot of it. And again, towards the beginning, I thought they might be going somewhere kind of decent, but it just I was wondering if they just had budget issues, and it was also very slow too. I ended up having to set 1.5 speed. And the unfortunately allowed that. Well, or rather, the stream, I guess. Certain streaming services don't necessarily allow speeding it up as a lot of them do. There's But I'm just kind of disappointed. That's all I can say. I'm kind of actively forgetting this film, and I'm not sure I'm not better for that. KG5 BZW.
Oh, Jay, you're not alone. I found the thing. I fell asleep during the part where they jettisoned. All that happens. Okay, next up is Virginia, ND5F of Virginia. Your thoughts on the fine plot from KE5I6.
Good evening, everyone on the net. Well, I didn't manage to watch this movie until this afternoon, and I'm usually kind of distracted by other things I'm interested in. But I tried to sit through it. I don't know, I think the thing that I try to get my head around when I'm watching something like this is that it was made in 1958 before, there was really any really great, maybe Metropolis, that was a pretty great movie. There's a little bit of good science fiction, but back then science fiction was very speculative and people didn't know physics or orbital mechanics or any of that. And then they were also trying to kind of make it a period piece because it was Jules Verne, so they were trying to make it like late 19th century. So I try to get in the head of the people who were making this and what they were, they were kind of trying to go for like almost us doing steampunk or something. They're like, hey, let's see what it would be like to make a movie where they somehow managed to get a rocket to the moon, in the late 1800s. So they were exploring the ideas of, probably what they were thinking of in the late 1800s, how warfare is going to change, ballistics, and the idea of putting a warhead on a rocket, pretty new stuff. As far as big rockets, the Chinese had invented rockets and explosives, but this was the idea of making some kind of ICBM. And I haven't read the book, so I have no idea. I don't think it's terribly accurate to what Jules Verne wrote, but it was kind of like in the nuclear age, they were making a movie about that kind of mutual assured destruction. Let's bring peace by making sure everybody has this warhead, all over the world, and we'll prove that it works by shooting a rocket to the moon and using the warhead on the moon, I guess. I don't know, I got a little distracted, so I guess the idea was they were going to take put people on the ship and take the ship up with the warhead on it and then fire that, from the rocket and maybe land another section of it on the moon and then explore and come back. I think my favorite thing in this was the weird, funky, whirly, spinny centrifuge thing that they seemed to think they needed to put everyone in while they were launching. I don't know what that was all about. Somehow Virginia, who has no affiliation with me, I just have to make that little disclaimer, somehow she could survive in a spacesuit, hanging in the little... And by the way, that little rack with the spacesuits on it, Stanley Kubrick totally ripped that off for 2001. So there's my 2001 plug of the week. But yeah, I thought that was pretty hilarious, the little spinny thing that they seem to need to be in during the launch. And then their discussion of orbital mechanics and how the ship was kept in orbit by gravity versus centrifugal force. That was pretty dang hilarious. But yeah, the plot of the religion versus science and, the development of warfare and what if we had gotten a rocket to the moon in that early stage. And I can see kind of what they were going for here, but, it was pretty simple. It was probably kind of nihilistic for the day. to have the guys like kind of come together and decide to work to save the ship after the one guy sabotages it. You've got the religious idealistic guy versus the opportunistic guy, and they come together at the end, and they sacrifice themselves, and then the young couple, I guess, as they're heading back to Earth, you don't see them get back there, but the assumption, I guess, is that they're going to make it home, and the other two guys are probably going to live out their days on the moon. So yeah, it wasn't super boring, but I was mostly just amused by some of the choices. But I think they were going for like a fusion kind of modern sci-fi, but in the past, kind of like a H.G. Wells, time machine kind of a thing, So, anyways, I could lather on, but I won't. In B5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on all counts. All right, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your comments on the plot for our fine film, KE5ICX.
This is KB9SOK. Yeah, I think Virginia hit it on the head with most of that there. This movie kind of couldn't make up its mind what it really wanted to be. It seems like, we started out with a very political kind of thing, struggling. Then we got into the whole war. The whole theory is, as long as everybody has the big bomb, everybody's safe. There won't be no more war. The same thing that was said about the nuclear bomb. But obviously, we know how that goes. So, then we had the whole thing of actually the dream of going to the moon. So it just kind of kept changing what the point of the movie was. We started out with, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, that, you can take something like a high-powered piece of dynamite and launch a rocket into space safely. Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense. And, they said that they were going to detonate such a huge explosion that it would destroy the Earth. That's why they were going to send the rocket to the moon, to let it explode on the moon to prove that this bomb worked. And, obviously, we know that we need the moon. So if it would destroy the Earth, what would it do to the moon? So that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then all at once, after he found the special material that would allow them to re-enter the atmosphere, he decided to change it from a bomb to a rocket to the moon, and then fly back to prove that his fuel worked. But it's kind of a simple plot. It seems like it maybe had 3 storylines, and as the movie went on, it kind of morphed. And also too, the whole, God's will, this is not right, so it's okay to basically kill on his behalf, I guess. That's why the one guy thought it was okay to kill those in the rocket, because he was doing God's work. And so which are, of course, always been topics, and obviously big back then. I realized the science back then didn't really have the understanding, but still, it seems like I would have thought even in 1958 we would have had a little better idea of what it would be like to actually go into space. But then again, I realized they were writing it from the point of view of after the Civil War. Of course, people in that time frame wouldn't, but still, it just, I don't know. It just didn't seem particularly, any of it being accurate. And then the ending to me was maybe, along the worst parts of it, just because it just isn't satisfying, because you really didn't get to see the 2 guys land. You really don't know if the other couple really made it back or not. So that was kind of disappointing. So, strange. And that's what I remember about the crazy giant rocket. The fancy wood interior, and they apparently had a full kitchen because they could make the fancy meals. They must have been used. And I agree, Virginia, that spinning thing made no sense at all. I just chuckled during that thing. It was like, well, what was the point of that? if they really needed it, then why? How did the girl survive just hanging in a rubber suit? So it was almost laughable. But yeah, the movie was a little slow paced too. It picked up pace a little bit there towards the end, but yeah, not the worst thing we've seen, but wasn't particularly interesting either. But yeah, I agree. The TV series was something totally different, more entertaining for sure. Anyway, that's all I got. Back to that. KB9S, okay.
Okie dokie, thank you, Sean. I'm going to go ahead and ask if anyone else would like to join us this evening before I tap Alex on his comments. Anyone else want to join us, please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see tonight's movie From the Earth to the Moon from 1958? I thought not, but here's my comments. We had another film like this where I can't remember the name of the film, but it had a similar ending where it wasn't the ending. They apparently ran out of money or something and decided they didn't want to bother with, returning everybody back to the Earth. Because after all, the name of the movie is From the Earth to the Moon. The words "and back" do not appear in the title, so we don't have to worry about that. We don't care if they make it back. We don't care if the lovey-doveys made it back. We don't care about the two guys that were fighting with each other, whether they come back. So, from the Earth to the Moon, and stay there. So, that was a little bit disappointing, I agree with all of you. And the overly long exposition about how we're going to go to the moon, and no explanation of any of the technical aspects of that. Just that we're going to use this plastic glass stuff, transparent aluminum, I guess, to put over the rocket, which will make it very smooth. Well, that's wonderful. So, my question is this. They're going to go ahead and use this Power X, and they're going to use it, I think, to actually power the spacecraft to go to the moon to see if they can power X as a bomb. Well, isn't it kind of all the same materials, and we're using it to send this multi-story rocket to the moon? Oh well, I didn't quite understand that. At any rate, they had the usual things. We had to have the meteorite shower thing, whatever. Put everybody in peril. We had to have the wibbly-wobbly stuff that went on that made no sense. And why is it that all the rockets are gigantic in space? We know that in space, we've had aircraft and things that are somewhat limited, even back in 1958, although they were getting somewhat spacious at that time. At least the oversized prop aircraft were flying boats. But even then, it's very difficult to build something that large and expect to go to the moon or anywhere else. I mean, big, huge rooms, everybody's in, and nice couches and all of that. Geez, come on, people. We wouldn't have all that. But the science was just atrocious. Gravity caused from the gyroscope. I think they were trying to do something with centrifugal force, but that didn't make any sense the way they were presenting it. It seemed like, I guess, when the thing would turn a certain way, then they would turn along with it. And I think the spinning thing with everybody in it was supposed to somehow negate gravity, because the gyroscope helped to create gravity outside of the actual gyroscope. It just didn't make any sense. It was just kind of nutso stuff. Also, I thought that and I agree, there's mention that they're kind of jumping around on the plot. What's the focus of the plot? I don't know. What is it? Is it talking about the dangers of mutually assured destruction, which was brought up earlier, which was very much on the minds of everyone after Hiroshima. But also, that then it's got a love story to it. Then it's the historical soul thing and the Gilded Age type of thing going to the moon. I don't know. It lacked a focus, and then it certainly lacked a a sufficient conclusion. I don't know. We never even get to see what happens on the moon. I don't think they had any money, quite honestly, for this film, or they ran out of it, or they ran out of interest in doing this movie. That's possible. But anytime you just can't make any sort of a attempt to complete the film and get our heroes home and successful doesn't make sense to me at all. But I don't know. Like so many science fiction films we've watched in the past, when they run out of money, and they have to give it a quick conclusion, with or without the necessary scenes to make the film actually conclude. So there was that. Okay, I guess that's what I got to say about that. Oh, well, we're going to go into acting on that in a minute, but okay. Let me go to Alex, KG5EYK. Alex, if you're still there, what do you think? Is this a movie that you would want to see? Even though you don't, now it's an option, it's not mandatory.
Absolutely. I watched the trailer, okay? I did manage to find that. Sometimes a trailer tells you a lot about a movie. This is very reminiscent to me of a couple of films. One is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They kind of did another Jules Verne. And the other one was Journey to the Center of the Earth. So I kind of like that Victorian age thing going on there. I've always enjoyed that. In the trailer, though, it had a couple of really good telltale signs that this is going to be a classic, really bad science fiction movies from the late 50s. First of all, they had the giant, fiery, sparkly meteor thing that you probably saw The Wire on, which I would have just enjoyed the hell out of. Everything had the woo 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 sound. You can hear it in the trailer. It's absolutely hysterical. The costuming, these guys look like they should be sailing in the North Atlantic. You know, the wood paneling on the walls, it looked awesome. It was got to be one of the worst bad good movies, based on what I've seen anyway. Interestingly enough, Byron Haskin is the director of this film, and he did a little-known film called War of the Worlds as well. He did that in the 52, I believe. So the director was really good. They probably, like you said, just ran out of money. KJ5EYK, back to the net.
Oh, Alex, what a wonderful synopsis and comments from just the trailer alone. I hope you'll come back next week. It was very good. Yeah, well, one thing that it reminded me of, too, is I think this film came earlier because this was, 58, was The First Men in the Moon, which was a pretty good movie, actually. That one, I think, was more along the lines of this, Victorian era stuff, and it really looked good. And I think that this film was trying to mimic that. I'm not entirely sure because I have to go back and see when it actually came out. But the First Men in the Moon, which I thought was a really good and fun film to watch, and it even had a nice little twist thing at the beginning and the end. It was completed, which was good. This not so much, but yeah, I agree with you. Okay, let's see here. Next section is the acting. Boy, can we talk wooden? Of course we can. Let's start with Brenda at WB50ZL. Brenda, what did you think about the acting and the characterization in our fine film?
WB50ZL. I guess they were acting. I don't know. They were all pompous, and you didn't always understand their motivations. I don't have any real gripe with the acting. I think it was adequate. The characters, the bad guy was hard to understand. It's like, what was his motivation for being so bad and just being willing to kill everybody because of this? That kind of didn't make sense to me. The girl was a bimbo, as they often are in these things. You know, she made food. Why did they bring all the good china along with them? I wouldn't have done that. I would have brought either the Melmac or the paper stuff and left the good china behind. And they were all dressed pompously. I didn't get that. Now, they should have shown the girl wiggle into that spacesuit, wearing Victorian garb, complete with a corset. You can barely breathe in a corset, much less wiggle in and out of a spacesuit. So, and she must have been miserable by the end of it. Just not comfortable. If you could imagine having something like that tightened up around your mid-sides. So, let's see, what else? Were the characters believable? Maybe some, maybe not. The girl wasn't. It was really stupid to sneak on board the spaceship and hide out. And essentially, she said, because if you die, I want to die too. That was essentially her reasoning, which is kind of dumb. And I think one problem is there wasn't anybody very likable in this cast. Not real anybody I really was sympathetic with. Back to net, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And I just checked. I found that the movie, The First Man in the Moon, was from 1964. So this film preceded it by 6 years. So, maybe they learned their lesson somehow when they made that film. Okay, next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on characterization and acting for our fine film this evening. Go ahead.
KG5BZW. So you have this charismatic rich person who brings all these other rich people together at the beginning. Hello?
I couldn't hear the radio.
What? Oh, here. KG5BZW. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, sorry about that. So you had these rich people with us first, and this collaborative effort, and stuff was being done, and I'm sorry, I'm going through the film just trying to figure out if there's any characters I even want to talk about. There's the naysayer competing in the industry, but he was kind of supposedly won over until we figure out later he wasn't, and blah blah blah. Man, I don't know. These characters, I just don't really. There's no change. There's nothing really, nothing to really hate about them, but they were just kind of there, and I guess they were well acted as far as what was required of the actors. I think the actors were all right. But the characters themselves, there's not much really I thought was that relatable in any way. It really, I think, would have helped if they stuck with a direction and went with it, like some other films about going to the moon we've seen. I don't, and I can really say positive or negative, or really more, not really much positive. I don't hate the characters or anything. I just like they're leaking from my brain here. It's just there just wasn't that much to them. Keep you happy today. Back in it.
Okay, thank you, Jay. There's really not much to say about the characters, but okay. I don't disagree at all. Well, NV5, Virginia, your thoughts on characterization and the acting in our fine film this evening from KE5ICX.
Yeah, the acting was pretty normal for the time. They were trying to render sort of a period feel to it, so I guess they were, maybe turning up the propriety of their speech a little bit, trying to make it feel 19th century. I'm sure the acting was fine. It's what I said before, nobody really stands out. There's not really anybody that you're really rooting for or necessarily intrigued or captivated by here. Kind of just a lot of stereotypes, young, handsome guy, pretty girl. There was some movie we watched not too long ago. It was pretty funny. It had kind of funny, black and white. It had like those funny screens with the weird graphics. And there's a lady who stows away on board their equally ginormous spaceship that's huge on the inside. In fact, I think my favorite character in the movie was the spaceship because it was just awesome with all the wood paneling and the cool observation room and all the ocean-going sort of decorating motifs and I'll have something during the third round to say about that aspect of things. But yeah, I think the rocket and its very nautical sort of interior, including utilitarian gray engine room area, and fine china and velvet seating, that's probably my favorite thing in the whole movie. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll back in it in 5.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Your thoughts on characterization acting? Go ahead.
This is KB9SOK. I agree with everybody says. The acting was adequate for what it was. Pretty stereotypical for the time. Our main guy bringing the other guys together after the war, to meet his dream and make some money. Pretty charismatic. I guess he was okay, but there was no real growth in his character. The guy, the metal expert, I guess you'd say he had a little bit of growth towards the end. At least he was finally willing to listen and help. And then the young lady, it was just, I think they just had to throw that in there for the eye candy. And you gotta have a love story. Of course, it's, we gotta have one. So, and then the assistants. They're just, I agree. There weren't a lot of people that really stuck out in this. One character to me, I don't know. Once again, this story seemed like it didn't know what it wanted to be. And kind of another storyline that kind of got thrown at the end, I forgot to mention earlier, was the reporter that was just so dead set on making sure that this thing failed and wanted to instantly report that they had all died. And, he didn't want them to, he was for sure that the whole thing was a fake. And, that everybody was still there on Earth, and it's like I really don't know why they threw that in there, because it's like I don't know why he even would have thought that would even been a possibility when all those people saw him get into the ship. So, I don't know if he was just grabbing out of the air looking for just a good story that he knew could never be proved, and it would give you some headlines, or if he really did think that they faked the whole thing just to get out of owing all those people money for a false thing. But I mean, they saw the ship take off to the sky, so obviously it went false. Yeah, that part was kind of weird. That character didn't make a whole lot of sense either, why that was thrown in. And then, obviously, I guess next round we'll talk about the special effects. Alrighty, that's all I got. KB9SOK, back to net.
Okay, thank you, Sean. And let's see, anyone else want to check in? Please come with your call. All right, hearing none. Let's see. Do I have anything on cast they can add that's already been said? Not really. Joseph Cotton was kind of, I don't know, I guess he was okay, but he wasn't really all that convincing in his role. I've seen him in better stuff. George Sanders, ditto. I don't really have a lot. I thought that this Morris Ancrum, who played Grant, was kind of strange. The Ulysses Grant character was just kind of, didn't look anything like him, didn't sound, well, I don't know what he sounded like, but I mean, he didn't, not much there, I guess, that was convincing to me. I never really bought it as Ulysses S. Grant. Not that I ever met Ulysses S. Grant, except I remember him on The Wild Wild West, which is what the show kind of reminded me of, only The Wild Wild West was way better than this was. So, I don't know. The rest of the characters, forgettable. Who cares? What's her name? Deborah Pageant. As Virginia. Boring. But, and then whoever, the Sharp, the reporter, who knows, boring. But at any rate, I don't know. I don't have much to add. I'm kind of with Jay on this one. I don't have a lot to say about the characterization. But overall, I think they were just kind of phoned in performances. Okay, well, we're just sailing along tonight. Let's move on to our next section, which is the special or not so special effects music and anything we may have missed along the way. We have time, so I'm going to go start with Brenda, and then I'm going to let Alex give his final comments about what he thought of everything along the way. So, Alex, don't go away. I've got you towards the end of the list just to give your thoughts. Brenda, WB50ZL, go ahead. What do you think about special effects, whatever you want, from KE5ICX?
This is WB50ZL. Very short budget. There's not much you can do. They certainly had a lot of gizmos and gadgets and stuff that did things. They moved and turned and such. They never told you what they were for or what they were. It was just kind of a gee whiz factor. And to me, that's just boring. If those kind of things are, fun and interesting and special, they can add to the movie even though you don't know what they are. But in this case, it was just pointless and unnecessary. And let's see, the rocket was sort of unbelievable. There's always lots of space inside these things for no good reason. And it didn't look like they were prepared for acceleration. I didn't see lounges for them to strap into. Don't know why they dressed up in their finest clothes. And I don't know why they didn't wear their spacesuits. So, left a lot to be desired, for sure. All right, back to net, W5OZL.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Brenda. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what you think of special effects, music, anything, or any other comments you got that you would like to bring to the net this evening? Go ahead, KE5ICX.
KG5BZW. Well, they're oh yeah. Others have mentioned the rocket was actually kind of cool. Just, I mean, of course, in the sense of, you know, the sci-fi ginormous rocket that has all the space you need and whatever. The kind of strange added issues that they had with had to have issues with the rocket, don't you know? And, brief note. I can't remember the name of the guy that is very pro atomic bomb. I almost have to wonder if the idea of this explosive also being rocket fuel didn't come from some ideas floating around of just using atomic bombs. Just use a, it's kind of a full, every so often just lay in there a nuke and start, keep on going. I don't know where I know it's a thing. I didn't just make that up. It was but I don't know. I'm kind of pretending that that's how they made this rocket work in this world. Although there's a lot of problems with the whole idea of they've got one of the interesting aspects of the atomic weapons is that they're you can have a very small size nuke, but the whole thing about a liquid like this is that it's infinitely divisible practically for practical purposes. So you don't have one. Every nation has a bomb type aspect. Well, no, they can just divide their little liquid portions into a whole bunch of little tubules, and you've got a super army with this superpower stuff that I don't know. It didn't make much sense. Go back. I thought the mirror shower was silly, of course, because not how mirrors. Not how that works in between the Earth and the Moon. But I was actually kind of impressed with the swinging, like the ball of sparklers. That actually made quite an impression on me. I was like, that was pretty cool, regardless of what it was supposed to be. I was like, oh, that's neat. Besides that, I kind of dig in a little bit of the steampunk, even though I don't think steampunk is really had not been, of course, obviously Jules Verne invented some crazy ideas and Steve Steele's thrown up, but now the juxtaposition of quasi space age technology with Western stuff was kind of interesting. And I like the telescopes too. There's actually a lot of kind of interesting things to say. I didn't write it all down about the way that the rich lived and what was expected, and apparently, at least for the purpose of fiction, but the regal, not regal so much, but I mean, I call it regal, even though regal means more, kingly kind of stuff. It's just. I'm reminded of some of the art, I want to say St. Petersburg, before it became Leningrad was. Anyway, I may be getting some. There's some lavish rooms in that exhibition hall. I'm thinking of, and of course, but opulent for sure. I got a brief glimpse of opulence here. Granted, what I'm talking of is like orders of magnitude more than you see here, but I don't know. It's always kind of interesting to consider that aspect. Just, not that I have any particular desire to be ultra rich or anything like that or whatever. Just, it's weird just how much of a divide there could be back then and as there might be now. Let's see, what else did I want to say? There ain't even main music. I can't remember. I don't think it was much. The special effects inside the ship, I already talked about that. That was those are pretty cheesy. That's I don't know, the electrical store, whatever the heck that was supposed to be, was kind of cool though. I could probably go on if I thought about it, but I think I've probably droned on too much. And to the next person. K25BCW, back to that.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Next is Virginia, NV5F, Virginia. Special effects, what do you think?
Okay, well, the sound effects in this totally rocked. They were like what Alex was talking about. They were just like this quintessential, swirly noise of, rocket ship noise. They're rocket ship sound effects. I liked the hand animated electrical arcs. Those were actually done pretty well. I was pretty impressed by that animation. They tried to mix it, with the special effects, which were cheesy, but the visual effects, some of them were okay. The rocket stuff was meh, It's usually pretty cheesy. Now, the spaceship is awesome with the paneling and the luxuriant furnishings, and the music of this was very forgettable, but they could have probably made it believable and pulled it off if they had juxtaposed their regal and spacious and beautiful, trendy 19th century decor with some blue Danube. That would have probably helped them pull it off a little bit. Because then you make it into satire, about look how we've normalized space travel and made it almost like being at home. You can just fall asleep in your chair, while you're watching TV on the seat in front of you. So if they'd gone for a different aesthetic with their music, they might have been able to pull that off. But seriously, I thought that kind of. I really do think they were going for a fusion thing here. Like what we would call now we have a whole genre, of steampunk, which is a little more specific than this, but I think that's what they were trying to go for. They were trying to go for, hey, let's take, people have made rubber monsters and, atomic bomb scare things. Let's try to temper that with a fusion of the Victorian era and modern sci-fi and concerns like the mutually assured destruction, and the guy's motivation of, well, let's get this weapon in everyone's hands so that we'll all just keep each other in check. That was, I could see what they were going for there, and they were going to try to do like a big Technicolor extravaganza, complete with costumes and a period feel, and like you just said, Tom, I just don't think they had enough money to really pull it off, and not a good enough story either. So on that subject, someone mentioned that they were dressed like they should have been in an ocean-going vessel, and the inside of the ship kind of looked like that. It struck me as like the time I toured the Britannia when I was in Edinburgh. Very the interiors of the British ocean-going vessels were always just so well kept and beautiful. The living quarters were all very beautiful, and then the utilitarian spaces were all very utilitarian, but also very spotless. I mean, you could eat off the engine room. But that feel, I actually kind of like that fusion kind of feel, and recently I rediscovered this anime that was out when I was a kid, back when we called it Japanimation, and it was originally titled Yamato 2199, and for the U.S. market they called it Star Blazers, and they had reclaimed the battleship Yamato from which had been, a real ship in World War II, and they had turned it into a spaceship, and they did a fusion of, nautical and space, and the captain, all the other guys wore like, space kind of flight suits and helmets, very typical of anime at the time. And but the Captain Avatar, he wore a big captain's hat, and he wore the big jacket with an anchor on it, and he had a big beard, and he was just cool. And it's a really cool show. And then there've been several other versions of it up until not too long ago. They've kept kind of reinventing the show, and I like that. I also like that in the Disney movie Treasure Planet, which is a cool sort of science fiction, Victorian, kind of ocean-going pirates and all that kind of fusion thing. So I like that. You can pull it off when you have a good story and you have a good aesthetic and a good budget, I guess. So anyway, that'll be the end of my comments for tonight. Thanks, Tom, for running the net. MV5S.
Thank you, Virginia. Thanks for running through some of those other anime and movies and things like that. I forgot about some of those. There is a history. All right, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your comments, what do you think? Special effects, not so special? What's up? KB5ICX.
KB9SOK. Yeah, I totally forgot about that anime too. Virginia just brought it up. Yeah, it's sad. The ship was pretty crazy. I agree. There's nothing wrong with giving it a nautical theme, but it was just not done particularly well. It looked like the interior of maybe the Titanic. Their space capsule was nicer than my apartment. So, but yeah, I guess if you're going to be rich and travel in space, yeah, why not take your China with you? Why not take your best stuff? I'm surprised they didn't, have a chef on board and a couple butlers and, to help them out. But yeah, I mean, they did put, I'll give them credit for probably a low budget film. They did try to put a little something into it, make the ship look really nice. Obviously the observation deck, and then that spinning fusion thing that they used to launch. And, they put a lot of work to put that together, but it made no sense why it was there. But, they obviously spent some money on it. And, yeah, the lack of space suits, well, it's lack of writing and lack of realism. So I guess not a lot to say there. I did find the asteroids absolutely just hilarious. They had a bunch of lights around the ball, making it look like, I don't know why they thought that looked like asteroids, but or meteors, sorry. But yeah, parts that were almost funny. It was almost like, I forget the name of the movie we watched a while back that was using the cheesy stuff for the sci-fi stuff, but it kind of reminded me of that movie. And maybe this was partly one of those inspirations for that movie. So, yeah, the music was, there was not much of it there. The sound effects were very, very classic for that time. As the whirling sound and just, all the other basic sounds were pretty typical of sci-fi for that time. So, yeah, I guess it's okay, but, oh well. It's interesting as always. So, not a lot else to add on this one, so send it back to Nat. Looking forward to the next one. This is KB9SOK.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you, Sean. My only additional comments on this one would be watching if you look carefully, you can see that the big at the top, the nose cones of the spaceship, they got all the spectacular sparklers, things going on. But if you look carefully, when one of the asteroids, whatever the hell it was that went by, you'll see that the sparkles go inside the window. They end up falling on the floor inside the spacecraft. And that happened more than once. Because you get distracted by the big fireball that they're trying to create. You may not notice that, but I kept looking at it. Oh, okay, fine. There it is. I found the spaceship totally unconvincing. What the heck were they trying to do? That thing was just, golly, what were they doing? And, no real spacey parts. Nothing looked realistic at all, really, in the end. And you could tell that they just kind of avoided the whole special effects thing and said, well, let's try this. This will work. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But in all cases, it was kind of left with your own devices trying to understand what was going on and kind of close your eyes and just imagine good special effects being in this movie and better acting may have helped it along the way. So, I don't know. Maybe First Men in the Moon, that came out a few years later, 1964, actually may have taken a few object lessons from this in their Victorian steampunk view and sensibilities and created a much better movie. I'm not sure how this one fared at the box office. I have a feeling not very well. But that's kind of the way it is. Okay, I'm going to go back to Alex. I kind of left him behind here, but Alex, you got any parting comments? Anything you would like to say about the net or anything having to do with our movie this evening? KG5EYK from KE5ICX.
Sure. I enjoy this net every week, and I look forward to it, so I'll tell you that much. What I saw and what I've heard, And after watching the trailer, it's pretty much what I expected. The casting is pretty much what I expected. You know, movies, in a way, are little time capsules of the periods they're shot in. So in the late 1950s, early 1960s, it was the atomic race, and you always had like 3 men and a girl. It was always that kind of combination. And we kind of snicker at it now, right? Because sometimes the girl character didn't have much of a character other than to run around and be a girl. Well, if you look at our films today, they all have a formula, right? I mean, look at your television shows, your films, everything. There's always somebody gay. There's usually a transgender. Guys are idiots. There's a strong female character, and that's just the formula for today. Now, 50 years from now, if we look back on this, we might be thinking, what the hell were they thinking? But I'll leave that for another time. One of the things that I look for this is in these films, in this classic era of The Blob and all those great films that came out, they knew the effects weren't that good. So the audience had to be kind of somewhat involved. It was kind of a participation event. They could see the wires just like we could. They didn't have CGI. They didn't have the highly skilled or advanced things. They had to use their imagination to just kind of accept some things and go along with it, you know. So yeah, they were bad, and there's great things about them and stuff that I really enjoy. Like pretty much at that time period, if you do anything in the Victorian era, they always show the machine, and it's got the thing that whirls around with the 2 balls on it. I don't know what the hell it does, but it's in every one of them, and it's usually got some sort of baffle that pumps up and down somewhere. So you know, these are kind of things that they dealt with. It probably didn't take that long to make. It was an RKO picture, like you said, and they went bankrupt, so they were probably just salvaging what they could and said, well, I've already spent X amount of dollars on this, and it's just 98% done. Let's throw $1,000 at it and finish it off. But, you know, I look forward to it. I enjoy the old movies. I do like these types of movies for whatever reason. They're really bad, good sci-fis, you know. So I'm just looking forward to see what movie we do next week. KJ5, EYK, back to the net.
Very good. Thank you, Alex. And great comments. I really enjoyed them this evening. I agree with you, too. And I think everyone here will, too, because we've seen films across all the decades. And, yeah, there's a lot of tropes. And what is there? TVtropes.com. You can go there and find them all from all the films and television and movie stuff. It's actually quite amusing because they'll take and group all the movies and television shows together with one particular trope that is popular at one particular time. And yeah, they always steal from one another. Plus a lot of times too, and this is true with movies that have to get out quickly, or television series where it's a weekly series, television, and a lot of times it's just bad. You know, what is it, 80% of everything is crap, Teddy Sturgeon once said. And so you got the other 20% to actually enjoy and appreciate, but the other 80 is just whatever junk you've got. But check out TV Tropes. It's always fun. Okay, before I do make mention of the next movie, I'll go ahead and ask if anyone has any final comments or any late check-in. Come with your call now. Okay, here's what we got. We have, next week's movie is actually from 2023, last year, and it's, I think, a campy film. It's called It Came From Somewhere from 2023. When you go to the Afterglow movie site on Facebook, look for future movies under guide, Guides. There's only one guide there, and it has the movies listed. I used to have a document that was there, but they stopped doing that, and so I had to put it someplace. So the guide actually works kind of nice because I can go ahead and add the movies and move them around as necessary or remove them if something goes wrong. Also, you'll find under the Afterglow movie, I will post the upcoming movie under the pinned or penned section so that you'll see it at the very top. It'll be under featured. And so next week's movie will appear there. And also, I mentioned too that if you like to hang with us on Friday evenings, you can do so. We start the movie up at 8 o'clock and kind of just to chat back and forth about our initial impressions of the film, which usually end up in a discussion later on. There's usually 3 or 4 of us there that see the movie, though it be more or less, and we watch it in real time from 8 until whenever it completes. So just look for that under watching this week's movie, which is also under the featured section. And with that, next week's movie, it came from somewhere. It's kind of a parody of every science fiction movie we've ever seen. I hope it's good. We'll find out, I guess. So I say 7-3 to everybody. Had a good evening. Starting to kind of fade a little bit. Gotta get up early tomorrow. Maybe I should just stay up all night. Oh well. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoyed it very much. We'll see you next week. This is KE5ICX. Bye-bye and bye-bye.